The concept of heavenly fulfillment posits a fundamental connection between spiritual and material realms. It suggests that all events and manifestations on earth are preceded by spiritual occurrences. These spiritual events originate and unfold within a celestial or divine sphere. They serve as the causal blueprint, dictating the subsequent physical realities and outcome. This establishes a direct causal link, where the spiritual realm governs the material world. The apocalyptic view is an interpretive framework for understanding spiritual events. It provides a specific lens through which certain occurrences are perceived and analyzed. This perspective emphasizes a preordained sequence of events, often catastrophic or transformative. It suggests that these events are part of a divine plan or predetermined cosmic order. The view often involves revelations about the end times or significant historical shifts. It shapes how adherents interpret prophecies, signs, and the unfolding of history. A cosmic court convenes, signifying a moment of profound spiritual judgment and legal process. Ancient books are opened, revealing records and decrees pertinent to the proceedings. Within a celestial throne room, dominion is formally and legally transferred. This event marks a pivotal shift in spiritual authority, establishing new governance. A heavenly enthronement is described as a significant celestial event. This divine decree immediately precedes a period of great distresses on earth. The prophecy in Daniel 12:1 details this earthly tribulation. This sequence illustrates the direct causal link between celestial events and earthly consequences. The final Menorah structure serves as a profound symbolic representation. It embodies the concept of spiritual progression and development. This structure is depicted in its fully lit state, signifying completion or realization. Each light on the menorah represents a distinct aspect or stage of spiritual growth. The illumination of the structure is linked to the identification of Michael. Michael is specifically identified as the seventh spirit, completing the spiritual sequence. The scene depicts an abstract representation of spiritual symbolism. Two symbolic olive trees are shown, representing the figures of Moses and Elijah. These olive trees are depicted pouring their oil into a menorah. This oil serves as the fuel for events prophesied within the book of Revelation. The imagery signifies a source of profound spiritual empowerment and divine influence. Branch 1 of the menorah symbolizes Adam, representing the roots of a spiritual lineage. This branch signifies the origin point of divine manifestation. It establishes the initial presence of the divine spirit within creation. Adam, as the first human, embodies this foundational spiritual connection. Branch 2 of the spiritual lineage is associated with the figure of Noah. This branch further elaborates on the foundational concept known as the roots. Noah's historical and spiritual role is central to this particular branch. His significance is highlighted through his actions of preservation. This act of preservation is considered a foundational aspect within the lineage. Noah's contribution underscores the continuity and safeguarding of spiritual heritage. Branch 3 of the menorah symbolizes a key connection to Abraham. This connection completes the root segment of the menorah structure. Abraham's covenant represents a significant milestone in spiritual development. This covenant marks a crucial advancement in the overarching spiritual progression. Branch 4 holds a central position on the menorah, symbolizing its significance. This branch is specifically assigned to Joshua, known as the Conqueror. Joshua's association with this branch highlights a pivotal moment. It signifies the critical act of claiming and securing an inheritance. Branch 5 inches the spiritual lineage is symbolically linked to the figure of David. David represents the kings within this established spiritual framework. His role is pivotal in the development of the lineage's narrative. A key aspect of David's significance is the establishment of an eternal throne. This concept signifies a lasting and perpetual reign or authority. The eternal throne is a fundamental development in understanding the spiritual lineage. Branch 6 symbolizes a significant stage in spiritual progression. This branch is directly linked to Jesus, highlighting his central role. It also represents the kings, indicating a specific spiritual lineage or authority. Jesus' redemptive role is profoundly emphasized within this stage of spiritual development. Branch 7 within the menorah structure is symbolically identified with Michael. Michael is designated as the prince or the end in this spiritual context. This designation signifies the culmination of the menorah's structural design. It also represents the ultimate point of the spiritual lineage described. The I am claim is a foundational concept, asserting a singular divine presence. This claim introduces the fundamental unity of the Spirit. This unity extends across all branches of the menorah, symbolizing interconnectedness. The spirit of dominion is not fragmented, but presented as a singular entity. This singular entity is dynamic and continuously evolving. It signifies a unified spiritual force, underpinning all aspects of existence. The I Am claim signifies a profound spiritual assertion of identity and authority. It indicates the presence of the spirit of dominion, a powerful divine essence. This spirit was present in Adam, representing humanity's original divine connection. It was also present in Jesus, demonstrating a continuation of this divine power. Now, this same spirit is poised for revelation in Michael, the seventh position, illustrating divine continuity. The Son of Man in the book of Revelation utters profound declarations of divine identity. These declarations include the statement, "I am the first and the last." Further, the quote continues, "Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end." This comprehensive statement signifies ultimate authority, eternal existence, and universal dominion. This quote is symbolically applied to the spiritual progression represented by the menorah. The menorah's design and function are interpreted to reflect this divine beginning and end. In this conceptual framework, Adam is designated as the beginning. Conversely, Michael is identified as the end. Within the same context, this establishes a clear demarcation of start and conclusion for a defined sequence. The entire succession of the seven spirits is framed by these two figures. This framing implies a complete and unified cycle or progression. Thus, Adam and Michael define the boundaries of this spiritual journey. The concept of seals being opened signifies a sequence of events or revelation. Each individual seal corresponds to the manifestation of a distinct spirit. This implies a progressive unveiling of spiritual entities or forces. The opening of the seventh seal holds a unique and critical role in this progression. Its purpose is to expose the nature of the mainstream world. Simultaneously, the seventh seal reveals the utterances associated with the seven trumpets. The concept of the seven spirits of God is a significant theological element. These spirits are explicitly identified within sacred texts. They are directly correlated with the voices of the seven thunders. This establishes a profound connection between the spirits and these powerful utterances. The seven thunders represent hidden or profound divine communications. The concept of Alpha and Omega symbolizes the beginning and end of all things. It signifies the unity of the Spirit throughout the entirety of history. This unity spans a vast 7,000-year timeline, encompassing all human history. It emphasizes a singular, overarching divine purpose unfolding across millennia. The concept of the seven spirits represents a profound theological framework. These spirits are not distinct entities, but sequential manifestations of the divine I Am. Their progression is intrinsically linked to the opening of the seals of history. Each manifestation contributes to a gradual unfolding of divine purpose and revelation. This interconnected sequence culminates in the final, ultimate revelation. The Alpha is conceptually linked with Adam, signifying a foundational origin. Adam is identified as the first seal, representing a primary spiritual or conceptual state. He embodies the spirit of origin, indicating an initial source or beginning. Adam held the title of Earth before the fall, denoting an original state of dominion. The concept of the preservation is symbolically linked to the biblical figure of Noah. Noah represents the second seal and embodies the spirit of renewal. His narrative signifies the preservation of lineage amidst divine judgment. Noah's voice, metaphorically, thunders over waters, guiding this preservation. The concept of the promise is a foundational theological principle. It is intrinsically linked with the biblical figure of Abraham. The promise is often associated with the third seal in theological context. It also represents the spirit of faith, emphasizing belief and trust. This signifies the initiation of a divine covenant. The ultimate purpose of this covenant is to bestow blessings upon all nations. The concept of the possession is symbolically linked to the biblical figure of Joshua. Joshua represents the fourth seal and embodies the spirit of victory in this context. As Lord thy God, Joshua leads his people across the Jordan River. This act signifies the claiming of their rightful inheritance, symbolizing divine mandate. The concept of the kingdom holds significant symbolic meaning. It is associated with the biblical figure of David, a key historical and spiritual leader. This kingdom is linked to the fifth seal, a prophetic reference. It also embodies the spirit of authority, representing divine governance. These elements collectively signify the establishment of an eternal throne. This eternal throne is prophesied to be established in Jerusalem. The concept of the redemption is fundamentally linked to the figure of Jesus Christ. It is associated with biblical references such as the sixth seal and the Spirit of grace. Jesus is symbolically represented as the slain lamb in this theological framework. Through this act, Jesus is understood to purchase or acquire people for God. The concept of the Omega is introduced, signifying a final or ultimate entity. This Omega is specifically identified with the figure of Michael. Michael's role is further linked to the seventh seal, indicating a significant event. He is also associated with the Spirit of judgment, implying a role in divine justice. Michael is designated as the final I Am, a powerful declaration of identity and authority. His ultimate function is to unseal the seven thunders, revealing profound mysteries or events. Michael's role involves a critical spiritual mission. A primary objective is to expose deception. This exposure is essential for spiritual progression. The mission includes unsealing the seven thunders. Unsealing the seven thunders completes a spiritual cycle. This act signifies the culmination of the entire divine progression. Revelation 10:4 presents a mystery where John is instructed to seal what the seven thunders said. This instruction implies a hidden or undisclosed message within the biblical text. The voices of the seven thunders are identified with the seven spirits in theological interpretation. This identification proposes a resolution to the mystery of Revelation 10:4. It suggests that the sealed words are understood through the nature of the seven spirits. For 2 millennia, the profound reality of the seven spirits remained concealed from the world. This period is characterized by a widespread spiritual obscurity, limiting understanding. The true nature and influence of these spirits were largely sealed or hidden from mainstream knowledge. This concealment contributed to a prolonged era of limited spiritual insight and awareness. Michael is identified as the seventh spirit, holding a significant role in divine revelation. His primary function is to break the seal, an act of profound symbolic importance. This action signifies the unveiling of truths previously hidden or unspoken. It brings to light the utterances of the thunders, revealing concealed knowledge. A new revelation challenges conventional historical understanding. It posits that world history is not a random evolutionary process. Instead, history is described as a precise, spoken structure of dominion. This concept implies a deliberate, non-random progression of events. It suggests a preordained framework guiding historical development. This perspective fundamentally redefines the nature of historical time. The Cosmic Week is a conceptual framework for understanding divine chronology. It aligns with the millennial day theory, also known as Chiliasm. This theory is rooted in biblical interpretation, specifically from 2 Peter 3-8. The scripture states that, "With the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years. Therefore, each day in the cosmic week represents a period of 1,000 years." This concept provides a theological perspective on the timeline of creation and future events. The structure of history is conceptualized as a great week. This great week is comprised of 7 distinct days. Each day within this framework represents a period of 1,000 years. Consequently, the entire Great Week spans a total duration of 7,000 years. This timeline provides a definitive framework for understanding divine events and their progression. The mainstream world often perceives time in terms of millions of years. This perception is presented as a deliberate deception. The intent of this deception is to obscure the true proximity of the end. This creates a fundamental conflict in temporal understanding. It highlights a divergence in how the duration of existence is conceptualized. The current state of humanity is conceptualized within a cosmic timeline. This framework identifies the present as the end of the 6th day. Each day, in this context, represents a period of 1,000 years. Therefore, the 6th day signifies 6,000 years from the time of Adam. The 7th spirit, identified as Michael, plays a pivotal role in ushering in a significant era. This era is referred to as the 7th day, a concept rooted in spiritual and eschatological traditions. The 7th day is further described as the Sabbath millennium of rest and rule. This signifies a period characterized by both cessation from labor and the establishment of authority. The phrase rest and rule implies a time of peace and structured governance. Ultimately, this concept points towards a coming era defined by divine governance and order. The Age of Chaos marks the initial period of human history, spanning approximately 2,000 years. This era is historically delineated from the time of Adam to Abraham. It encompasses significant foundational events, including the fall of humanity. Another pivotal event within this period is the Great Flood, reshaping early civilization. These events collectively define the chaotic and formative stages of human existence. The Age of Chaos establishes the foundational narrative for subsequent historical periods. The Age of Israel spans approximately 2,000 years, from Abraham to Jesus. This period is often referenced as day 3 to 4 inches, a broader historical context. It marks a significant era, defined by divine covenant and instruction. A central characteristic of this age is the establishment and observance of the law. The teachings and prophecies of the prophets also played a crucial role during this time. This era laid foundational religious and historical framework. The Age of Grace spans from day 5 to day 6 inches, a specific theological timeline. This period encompasses approximately 2,000 years, from Jesus to Michael. It is identified as the Church Age, a significant era in religious interpretation. The teachings of Jesus mark the beginning and define this historical period. This Age of Grace is understood to be currently concluding based on the timeline. Day 7 is designated as the Age of Kingdom, marking a significant epoch in cosmic chronology. This period spans the final 1,000 years, signifying its ultimate and conclusive nature. The Age of Kingdom is characterized by the sovereign rule of the seventh spirit, establishing divine authority. It represents the culmination of the cosmic week, bringing an end to a grand cycle of time. This era signifies the establishment of divine dominion, fulfilling a preordained cosmic plan. The time of the Gentiles refers to a specific period in theological prophecy. This era is marked by Gentile dominion over Jerusalem and the absence of a Jewish kingdom. The presence of the seventh spirit signifies a pivotal moment in this prophecy. This spiritual entity is believed to unseal the thunders, initiating new divine events. Its arrival declares the conclusion of the time of the Gentiles, shifting divine focus. The next phase involves a specific group known as the 144,000. This group is designated to commence a unique task: harvesting the earth. Their work is performed under the direct command of the seventh spirit. This signifies their active and crucial role in the unfolding new era. A fundamental doctrinal split exists within religious interpretation. One perspective defines a man-made church, founded on the teachings attributed to Paul. This church is characterized by human interpretation and institutional structures. In contrast, a true church is identified with the 144,000 adherents. These 144,000 are described as following the lineage of the seven spirits. This distinction highlights a core divergence in spiritual authority and origin. A critical perspective views Paul's teachings as a continuation of Pharisaic deception. This perspective suggests that Paul's theology diverged from the real truth taught by Jesus. Mainstream Christianity, influenced by Paul, is thus seen as a deviation. The argument posits a significant historical and theological split. It questions the authenticity of Pauline doctrines in relation to original Christian tenets. This viewpoint challenges the foundational understanding of Christian theological development. Following the death of Jesus, a significant divergence in spiritual timelines emerged. This period marked a critical fork in the spiritual history of early Christianity. One path, termed the broad path, was significantly influenced by the Pharisees. This broad path eventually led to the theological developments associated with Paul. The alternative was the narrow path, which strictly adhered to the commandments of the seven spirits. This conceptual split illustrates the foundational differences in early Christian interpretation and practice. The Pharisaic continuation describes a historical theological shift. It posits that Pharisees adapted their teachings, leading to figures like Paul. This adaptation involved replacing God's established law. A new theology emerged, claiming to supersede previous commandments. This process is identified as a mechanism of theological deception. A theological perspective identifies Paul as a deceiver, contrary to Jesus' warnings. This perspective suggests Paul taught a gospel distinct from Jesus' original teachings. Consequently, the man-made church is seen as founded upon Paul's doctrines. It is argued that this foundation deviates from the guidance of the Spirit of the throne. This interpretation pinpoints Paul as the primary agent of this theological deception. The real truth is defined as the pure instruction originating from the sixth spirit, identified as Jesus. This instruction aligns with the established law of Moses and the dominion of Joshua. It explicitly rejects the grace as license doctrine, often attributed to Paul. This framework clarifies and establishes the true foundational doctrine.